And all praises be to the Most High, Bahashim Yeshaya Wahua. And there's so many things I would like to say this evening, okay? But, of course, the food is hot. It's smelling good, so we're not going to take up too much time. So, and you know what? I'm going to stick to what I'm saying right now. So y'all don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to keep y'all too long so that we can deal with the festivities. A lot of brothers and sisters out there really don't know what Purim is about. Really don't know. They really don't know. Why? We weren't taught. We weren't taught this Bible growing up. We wasn't taught this. We was taught just to praise Jesus, be blessed, shut up, and vote Democrat. But, of course, a lot of brothers and sisters are coming to the knowledge of the truth. And the greatest gift the Most High could have given me is to see the works he has done within this church. To see brothers and sisters with the knowledge of the Most High, not just reading the Bible, but applying it and walking with the Most High in their lives. And to know that I just have a small piece of that is all the gift I need. Even though I don't say much, when I come through here sometimes and walk through, I watch, I listen. I see those children. I see them play. I watch how they interact like family, like we used to do on the block. And above all, I see healthy children because their parents are aware of the eugenics and the destruction of our people. Healthy, strong children. That's all the gift I need. But for you brothers and sisters out there that are on the outside of this celebration, let me tell you what Purim is. Purim is a high holy day given to us by the God of Israel. Now, it's a little less, let me pull it back, it's a little less than a high holy day. It's more so a memorial. A memorial is something that the Most High said, never forget. It's what we should have remembered while forgetting Christmas. Because sometimes when we come to the knowledge of the truth, because the truth is so different than a lie, most people see those who actually follow the Bible as strange, weird. And if we're not careful, the pressures of the world will have us view ourselves like they view us. But we're different, we're special. That's the gift. I never felt a certain way being seen as the outcast or as the guy that always tried to do something different. I never felt any certain type of way. Growing up and reading a book and all the cats running around pumping weights and all that and saying this dude, he's square, he this, he's that. And you know what? I never felt any type of way because I knew something was different. And I know a lot of you out there experienced the same thing. The Most High always had a special gift in this earth, which is his people. I'm going to tell you this right now. Never be ashamed. Never be ashamed. Cleave into the knowledge that the Most High bestowed upon us as a gift. Never be ashamed. It wasn't until I got of age that I realized why I had to experience some of the I would say, situations growing up, opposed to how I viewed how everyone else grew up. I got older and realized that, the Most High said, you know what? I didn't allow you to do some of those things because I chose you. You are a gift. You're not of this world. And I'm going to touch on that real quick. For those of you that are on the outside or looking at this on YouTube or whatever, I hope today you would open up your minds, your hearts to understand the importance of this talk this evening. Listen to me clearly. Purim is a memorial that was given to our people. A lot of y'all know this out there. Y'all know it in here. That all we wanted to do as a people was to serve our God. And under the Persian Empire, there was a king. And there was a lot of politics going on during that time with the Israelites growing as a people. Now, when we talk about the Persians today, they would be the modern day Iranians. So our people didn't just start serving captivity. Okay? We served in ancient times, well before Rome, well before America. Now, all we wanted to do was serve our God and take care of our people. Now, I need y'all to think about this in modern day times so that you can relate to what we're going through today. Why this memorial is so important. The political and social landscape was similar back then as it is today. Outside of technology, brothers and sisters, people are still people. Scenarios are still the same. So you have to understand the importance of a day like this by understanding society. And why understanding this holy day or this memorial is so important to us. We were dealing in the provinces of Iran or Persia, separated from everyone else, just like we are in the ghetto. So there's no coincidence that we are always lumped up in certain areas, and every other people of their own nation usually are in close proximity to themselves. It's no different. But what happened here was there was a guy by the name of Haman the Agagite. Now, when you look at the research on Haman the Agagite, he was from the seed of Amalek, an Edomite. He was put in a high position based on his intellectual political prowess. Very intelligent man. But in order for him, as he saw fit in his mind, to be revered in his position, he was the one who would calculate any future risk to Persia. So we've seen our prophets Mordecai and others who refused to serve the gods of Persia or any other Gentile god. We got our own thing. We do our own barbecue our way. We put the sauce on it a certain way. Right? We don't eat ham. We don't eat shrimp, crab, none of that. Lobster. We have our own delicacy. We're not bothering anyone with it. But because we had our own fashion, Haman urged the king to take a look at how close we were based on our core belief in the God of Israel who gave the law to Moses. He says, listen, right now, it's them not serving our gods. But keep in mind, if we allow them to keep on with those cookouts and come together and grow and multiply and become great, what happened in Egypt could happen here. They can multiply, join a constituency, and become more than our people, and eventually they will overtake the government. Right? So a lot of y'all don't know this. So it was about population control. This was a political agenda to keep us from growing beyond control. Right? And this, I'm saying this tonight for those who are on YouTube and others who really don't know what this memorial is. And you can't tell me this wasn't our people in the Bible when you read it, because we're going through the same thing today. So what Haman did, and I'm sure I heard that the children and others have a play. I want to see that a little later. I'm not going to be here too long. What Haman did was say, well, listen, we need a political strategy here, where we need to be able to number how many people of this persuasion, being Jews, being Israelites. We need to number of how many people are in every province of this specific people. A census. See, they tell you answer the census so that the government can actually go into the treasury as the population grows to allocate finances for a particular area or community. We need to know how many people in the community so that we'll be able to understand the finances to better serve it. Similar to that. See, but it was against the law. The Most High even told the kings of Israel not to number the children of Israel. So obviously in the law, the Most High knew that the Gentiles would take what? The numbers of our people as some type of existential threat. So listen to what happened. Everything good? Haman said, let's number the children of Israel. And then we'll put out a bounty. We'll go in the treasury. We'll go in the treasury and pay mercenaries who can actually get rid of these people in number, in mass, in hopes that the rest of the population of us who survive, which is acquiesce and follow suit as one of the citizens of Persia. They were going to kill us, and there was a plan to destroy us in Persia. But guess what? Mordecai had some family by the name of Esther. Sister. And see, and this is why I hate absolutes and generalizations. When we look at the negative image of how they portray us and believe that all men are one way, and look at the negative image of how the world portrays our sisters and think that they're all the same way. Not realizing those negative images were financed, were promoted, so that all of us would look less than compared to everyone else. When we are God's gift. We are the children of God. And sometimes we fall to those stereotypes. But this particular sister, innocent, pure, virtuous, she's walking through the palace, and you know how, our sisters, when they want to be seen, they can be seen. Okay? Yeah. She'd go walking through this palace. And the prince was like, man, who is that? Now, he already got political plans and all that to try to deal. But this woman, this Israelite woman was so beautiful, demure, humble. And you know the Most High did some nudging too. Who knows? You know how it is. The guy's looking this way, planning a strategy to do things to our people, and a glass falls, and he turned around and, oh, Esther, that walking? Who's that? Anyway, one day Esther goes to the chamber. Esther goes to the chamber because he really want to make this woman his wife, this Israelite woman. And of course, there was a gift. He says, what can I do? I mean, what would you like? Yeah, in a nutshell, I want Haman's head and his son's head on spikes. I want them all gone. The Most High strategically put her in place to save the children of God. A system of the bloodline of the prophets, Prophet Mordecai, and through that saved our people in Iran. Now, how do we relate that to today? A lot of you don't know about this word, but it's a nasty word. It's called eugenics. 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 It's a scientific word. It's a clean word that would have us agree through science that some people aren't fit for the future. And that it's a government or a society's responsibility to rid its society of the weak. The weak within their society must be rid of in order for, as they claim, to go to the next stage of evolution. It so happens that the people on the bottom, when it comes to these programs of getting rid of people, always suffer exponentially more than any other race of people. So when they roll out a campaign, at the end of the day, who suffers most? The poor. Because the poor cannot afford to get out of harm's way. So what's more strategic? What this empire has done, it has taken what Egypt couldn't get right and what Persia almost got right and perfected it. That's what we're living under today. And I thank the Most High that when we went through this so-called campaign that they're now telling you they're going to let up now, when it first started in 2020, I told you all to do what? I told you all to do what? Hold the line. Don't listen to what they're telling you. If you fall for any of it, you'll fall for all of it. And eventually, a large number of us will be gone. And through the Spirit of the Most High, a lot of you took heed and are here to celebrate Purim. And I need y'all to understand that. Now, I'm about to read the Bible real quick. It's going to be real quick, but I'm going to say this. Brothers and sisters. Once Haman and the conspiracy to destroy our people was over, and there was no more threat to our people, what happened? The Most High said, remember this day as a memorial. The day that I saved my people. So a lot of people don't realize that sometimes when it's the hand of the Most High doing something, a lot of us are looking for supernatural, invisible intervention and not realizing when the Most High is working through people. That's a gift. Because to us, it was the Most High who put her in position to destroy that conspiracy against us. But politically, this story is still within the annals of our king and all that, Esther, all of them are written in Iranian history. I need y'all to understand that. Okay? Let me break it down to you. To them, it was really a political merger. So they're looking at history as a political merger where the Jews in Israel made an alliance with the Iranians in their history. So you have to understand the political landscape and how they must write the stories that will more so trump up patriotism for their particular country. But the story still exists. The hand of God have always been with us. Have always been with us through every journey. Through every journey. From Egypt to America, the Most High God has been with us. And listen to me, folks. And I'm so glad that the Most High gave, and I'm going to talk about myself personally right now. I'm so glad the Most High gave me the truth. And I'm going to tell you why. If it wasn't for this understanding, growing up in North Philly, 5th and Lehigh, 2 years old, 15th and Diamond, the crack era, the drug era, seeing people, cousins and all that, shooting heroin after the war, and I'm sitting there on the steps. Growing up seeing what? Crack totally decimate all my friends and community. It was one time, folks, and y'all kids, y'all don't know what it is. I'm going to tell you, I'm sounding old right now. But let me tell you this. Yo, let me tell you. There was no such thing as gang wars and all that outside of those who was living that particular life. There was no gang wars that affected the block. If there was a gang war, they would meet somewhere in an alley or somewhere and they would handle their business, but it never affected the children. And let me tell you, and the way the blocks was, if y'all can remember this, if you mess with anyone on the block, the whole block fell on you. I'm talking about mothers hitting you, grandmothers throwing stuff. The whole block fell on you. If you came to a cookout, you had to fall in. And if a stranger came to a cookout, everyone is asking, who is he? And don't let no woman come up in the scene. Who is she? The blocks were like this, man. So I seen the love of our people, the community of our people, something that cannot be quantified or understood the same. A culture. But what I didn't understand was the drugs, the death, the hatred that we would have amongst each other. I never understood when I seen crack come through. I couldn't resolve this culture in this community just going to church. Because the church really couldn't quantify and give answers to why we are such good people, loving people. But Lord, why does it seem as if we were destined to live on the bottom? I could never understand it. I'm like, and as I got older, I started realizing this is someone's plan. And it's to a point where if I didn't get the knowledge out of this Bible, I don't know where I would have been. Because I couldn't understand all of this. It was confusing. Drugs, killing, molestations going on, people going against each other, the marriages, everything, and all of these people go to church. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. But now, I understand that even though they have a plan and conspiracy that always destroy us as a people, the Most High had a greater plan. Because through all this chaos and confusion, the Most High had us meet all of our brothers and sisters we lost right here in America. The Mexicans, the Taínos, the Puerto Ricans, blacks, Haitians, Jamaicans, North American Indians, Hawaiians, Colombians. The Most High had a plan because he said a remnant. You're going to meet your people again. And once I found out I was an Israelite, it all made sense. Now I can look at eugenics and see that big word and not have that word scare me. Oh, that's a big word. You must go to college to understand that. No. Eugenics is a systematic way of getting rid of a people, like they tried to do with us. That's all. And how do we combat these plans against us? No. I will not serve your God, just like Mordecai, just like Esther. I will not serve your God. I'll wait on mine. No. Now, let me tell you this. Because, brothers and sisters, I'm no different. I'm no different than any of you. Listen to what I'm telling you. I'm no different than any of you. But if I'm going to talk about this today, knowing that we gave gifts to celebrate the Most High healing us and protecting us from the enemy. I realize that now that the Most High has given me the information of why things are so and what's going to happen according to this word, that I have to take this life as his gift and do with this life what he intended and make a mark with a purpose. Or I'm no different than the world and the community I was confused about as a child. If I don't do anything with this knowledge, with this understanding, I'm no different than that heroin addict who was just on the side and I'm a kid looking at him and didn't know what was going on with him. I'm no different than the guy who took the crack and did whatever and just wasted his life away or whatever the case is. Listen to what I'm saying. Because the Most High gave us all those experiences and had us see some heinous, some horrible things growing up. Enough for every individual and myself to be thankful. Not thankful that it wasn't me. It could have been us. It very well could have been. But thankful that I have a purpose and a gift. A gift that I cannot waste. Brothers and sisters, we only get one life. And if we're not going to live that life according to the word, we're dead. We're dead. So speaking of that gift today, only a few scriptures. Thanking the Most High for what he's done based on prophecy. Elder Lawya, I need you to now get the Valley of the Dry Bones, Revelation 11.
Revelation Revelation 11, verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod.
You know what? Every time Elder be reading and he get a mic, I believe that they have tinkered his mic like better than mine. Right? But now, it's been years. You notice sometimes in the midst of me teaching, I would say, oh, let's switch mics. Y'all recognize that? But now I understand. It's his voice. He come in with the voice of many waters, and I be looking at my mic like, it's not the mic, folks. Tonight I realized it's not the microphone. Right? You know, I don't know why I said that, but because the first thing came to my mind was, they do this to me every time. Man, it's that voice. It's that voice. All right, let's go, Elder Rawchaa.
Yes, sir. And there was given me, this is Revelation 11, verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God.
Measure the temple of God. So this is what we can't see while we're in these neighborhoods, going through what we're going through, growing, and then looking back and feeling like, well, woe is me. My family wasn't a certain type of way. I didn't get what these other people got. I didn't do this and I did. And the Most High said, what?
Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein.
Listen, while we're going through life, the Most High have angels coming through, measuring us and moving us out of the way. And because we deal so much in the negative, it seems like we view everything from the negative first without seeing the blessings. We will measure. He says, you go measure in the earth. I'm going to show you what a gift we are to the Most High. Now, even the Hebrew is written from what? Right to left. Right to left. Y'all in Hebrew Bible Academy, y'all should know that. Let me turn off this beast mode real quick. Hold that for me. So with the Most High always had it from the beginning that we would always view everything from the positive first, from right to left. You see it from the positive side. And then the negative don't look that bad. But they switched it up. They had you go from left to right when you read. Even in your brains, left to right. And we always examine our life based on and make choices based on the negative first. And the negative clouds us from seeing the plan the Most High has for us at the end of it. Now, I'm no different than you all. The only difference between me and other people who don't know what it feels to be on this side, one day I said, excuse my French, hell with this. I'm jumping all the way over. I'm not going to stay in the middle no more. This confusion, either the Most High got me all the way over here, or I'm not going to make it anyway because I did believe. I jumped all the way over. I stopped making excuses. I stopped looking at things from the negative. Because the negative brings a barrier that have you stay home one day, don't want to do nothing, because all you see is a brick wall looking through negative first. Not viewing you how God sees you. And it's a shame. It's a waste. come all the way over and understand the value of being able to see. What were we chosen for? Going back to Esther. Esther had a moment that she could have done anything in that moment. Well, I'm safe. I'm about to marry the king. I'm okay as long as I'm all right. My uncle was going to be okay. If she'd have looked at things from the negative, she'd have said, some of these people don't like me anyway. They were jealous of me anyway. But she was chosen and understood that that moment was a monumental moment for her people and chose to do right and sacrifice for others. That's what you call being measured and used. So the Most High, for everyone in this room, he sent forth an angel and said, measure. Some of you was working at a nursing home. Some of you was in the military. Some was in the police. Some of you was school teachers. Some of you was working construction. Some of you weren't working at all. And we're here. We're here. And the Most High says, where two or more gathered, he's in the midst. This is a gift. It's not what I'm going to get from you all or others in giving gifts, because that's where the giving gifts really come from. The gift on the 25th day and all this other stuff is between Hanukkah and Purim. And you notice how the devil does this. He usually have a pagan day in close proximity to what? Purim, Passover. Instead of Passover, we're thinking about Easter. Instead of Purim, we're thinking about Valentine's Day. You're giving in the same spirit of giving, but leaving the Most High, leaving God out, with no history to why you're actually celebrating. And they do that on purpose because they know on these holy days, gates are open. Angels come through. They're measuring, they're seeing, they're watching. And you'll sit there, happy Valentine, a heart and all that. And the story about Valentine, this dude was a psychopath. He was an Edomite running around, falling in love with other men's wives, stealing hearts. He was running around just, okay, listen, all these single women out here, nah, I want his wife. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm about to deal with you, and I'm going to bring your heart to your wife. You're going to really love me then. This is the sickness that's going on while they're overshadowing Purim. They're using Valentine's to overshadow the gift when the Most High saved our people. But let's get right to it. Come on, Elder Lawya, because, I know we got food back there.
Yes, sir. Revelation 11, verse 2. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. So it tells us that for 42 months, that our people will be treaded of the Gentiles. That 42 months break down to a time, and a divided time. In a nutshell, from the birth of Christ in the height of the Roman Empire until his second coming. So for all of this time since Christ was born, up until now, we've been treaded underfoot by the Gentiles. By the Gentiles. It's to a degree where I don't know anybody that go to church more so than our people. And I love doing it, but the other night, I'm online breaking down the dietary law to a grown person, grown woman, who had this Bible in front of her in church all of her life, just like me. And we don't even know, and it's no respect because I'm just showing you how little we've been taught by the Gentiles. We don't even know what God wants us to eat.
And you know what? I told AC, elders, I said, you know what I said? I said, yo, take that clip and put it up by itself. Let's shake the hornet's nest. And every Gentile and others came out of the woodwork. And one Gentile sent a message, you don't know Paul's writings, and you dealing with the Old Testament, da-da-da-da-da. And it was a Gentile guy. He seemed like a nice Gentile, white guy. So I sent him a private message. And the message went like this. Why did God give his people clean food to eat? Then he said, well, I don't know. Then I sent another message. Check this message out. Sometimes I have fun with it. Why would God have a holy people eat unclean food? And how does eating unclean food benefits God's people? I left it out there. And you know what? I've yet to receive an answer. Because why? They weren't taught to learn the Bible and see the Bible logically. If it was meant for us to eat unclean food, the Most High would have said it's okay. So this is why the angel said, the angel was sent to measure the temple, God's people. And he says, leave the Gentiles on the outer courts. Don't measure them. Don't measure them. Because it takes the Israelites to get the Gentiles together. And we've been working backward. We've been going to the Gentile for answers, understanding, education. We've been going to the Gentile to learn about a God they don't serve. And this is why the Most High sent the angel and said, you go to these people. They know what it is to suffer like they did in Egypt. They know what it is to suffer like what they went through in Persia. They know how to live in life and death-defying scenarios. Go and measure these people. Give them understanding. Let them know I didn't forget them. Read.
Verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
That prophecy in sackcloth is the 12 tribes of Israel suffering under the hands of who? The Gentiles. The 2 witnesses is Judah and Israel. 1,260 days. Now, how are they prophesying? You see their conditions: on crack, separated families, you name it, dying in the streets, on drugs. And it says, well, how are they prophesying? Well, the Bible is saying this would be the condition of those people who sinned against God. That's a prophecy. But no one is measuring these people according to prophecy. They're looking at their conditions and say, well, I guess that's how just black people are. Not realizing our condition is a prophecy in of itself. In sackcloth. Now think about that sackcloth. That sackcloth was what? When someone dies, usually you put on black, which represents sackcloth, and you mourn the dead. So it will be us in our society mourning the death of who we once were. The children of Israel. The children of God. Our existence is mourning the death of our people who died in 70 AD. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, when the Romans came against us. And then when you look over, even before that, 721 BC, when the kingdom was split, when the North American Indians came here, Gad, the Balique Taino Indians, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans, all of them almost over thousands of years before they would meet us here. And the angels started going through and say, measure them. They're in sackcloth. They're mourning their forefathers. They're mourning their land. They're longing to know about me. So he sent the angel to measure them. Are you going to fall victim to the sackcloth, or are you going to stand up and get our people out of the grave? See? Finish reading.
Verse 4. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth.
Come on.
And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies.
And that's what's coming. That's the power that our people will have when they come against us. Fire proceeds out of their mouth. Read.
And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed.
Come on.
These have power to
spontaneous combustion. See, and this is why I don't fear a little cold or whatever they're talking about. And I hear people all the time, well, I don't know, they require a test, and they require this, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, you know what? You have no idea of the God that made you. And you talk about a little test or a little jab or a little, I'm like, I wish you can see what we see. Above all, I wish you can look in the mirror and see what God sees in you. I was on the phone with a brother the other day. And he was giving me all this and talking about the jobs and all that. I'm like, yeah, brother. And now I was in the car. This was Thursday. It was Thursday or Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. You know, sometimes they call me on my phone and I answer. He talking about the job. I'm like, yeah, brother, what jobs you worked at? You know what I mean? You're concerned about losing this job. Oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to put you out there, brother, so I'm going to not say where you work. All right? Yeah, I did this and I was making some money there, da, 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 da. And I said, what company did you work for? He told me the company. Then I asked him, that's interesting, a job. How much money did you make for that company? You were hired to make that company how much money? Because he was talking about a job. And I said, well, who owned the company? So you worked all that time, which is fine, to only build someone else's legacy. And now you're concerned about not being able to build someone else's legacy? I'm like, a job at one time was only temporal enough so that we can build our own. It was just a head start. It was one time we never thought about staying on some job until we get a pen. You know, a pen in a Target card. And thank you for your service. I'm like, I need you to really think about that, brother. Because you're talking about sacrificing the rest of your life for a job when you had jobs before. And you're talking to me right now and you okay. Right? So when we're met with an obstacle, no is an alternative. If it means compromising our bloodline, compromising our bloodstreams, compromising who we are as a people. And I thought I would say that because why? A lot of people are making choices strictly on jobs, when the Most High already have a job for you. And when you step into who you are, he's going to make it clear on how to make some little money. We can't let the money rule us. We can't do that. We can't do that. And I have a lot of other stories, but I'm going to share them this Tuesday. Some Wednesday, some tomorrow, and some on the academy, because, you know, I have a few more stories, but I'm going to share with y'all. But go on.
Verse 6. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the day of their prophecy.
Come on.
And have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they will.
Come on.
And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them.
Now let's go back to the dead bodies.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Why Sodom? Because it's a country that would promote homosexual lifestyles. And it's also a country that would have the same laws in place which enslaved our forefathers, the Israelites. So this is why our communities were all jacked and all that. And I'm going to tell you this, brothers and sisters, and this is why Christ gave us the spirit of forgiveness. We have to stop blaming our circumstance and our families on our current state. We got to stop thinking negative. It's from that right to left. Your father and mother gave you life. You're strong and healthy enough to make good decisions for yourself. Yeah. So keep in mind, if someone did something to you growing up, forgive them. So that you can forgive yourself and become who the Most High made you. Okay, what happens if you're driving in your car? What happens when you drive and you're going about 55 or 60? And all of a sudden you decide to drive looking back. See? All that, well, this is what happened to me in the past. And the Most High is saying, I'm standing before you now. I'm giving you the answers to why you are in the condition in sackcloth you were. Your condition prophesied that you must be the people. Me giving you the gift of your nation, your purpose, isn't enough. Why look backward and harp on the sins of your father when there's a kingdom in front of you? Understand, all of our parents weren't the best, but you know what? They did the best they could under circumstances where I'm going to tell you, since we came here, the deck was stacked against us. And they didn't feel sorry for themselves. So that's why I want to talk about Purim being the gift. How we have to be grateful for what the Most High has blessed us. Because it doesn't, some people, it doesn't matter how much they're blessed, they'll always find something to be sad or upset about. And that's wrong. That's ungrateful. It's ungrateful. Let's finish reading.
Yes, sir. Revelation 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Now let's break down. Come on, read it.
Where also our Lord was crucified.
Where also our Lord was crucified. Now that could be confusing to some people, where it says our Lord was crucified. Hold up. Christ wasn't in America, was he? Christ wasn't in South America where our people were getting killed. What is talking about where Christ was crucified? It tells us in the epistles, cursed be the man that hangeth from a tree. And Christ became a curse for us. So the curse is hanging from a tree. like they hung him on the crucifix. So when it says where he was crucified, it actually highlights the hangings that happened to Judah here in America. That was them crucifying Christ over and over and over and over again. And they were telling us the whole time, don't you know why we're hanging you from trees? This is what we did to your Savior. The Savior who will one day judge us. And if we keep you vibrant, strong, spiritual, together, you were born to judge our evil ways. So the hanging from a tree was symbolic to how they hung our Lord and Savior. That's what it means. Sodom and Gomorrah, and the place Christ was crucified. Because Judah was crucified here in America and still is getting crucified. The dead bodies. Who are the dead bodies? Ezekiel 37, Elder Lawya. I only got 2 more scriptures. Let's read it.
Ezekiel 37.
Let's start at 1.
Yes, sir. Verse 1. The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones.
He says the angel set him down in the midst of a valley full of bones. Now check out this valley, folks. Read.
Verse 2. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry.
They were very dry. It's like the Most High dropping a prophet down at 7th and Lehigh, 3rd and Allegheny, Kensington. The valley of the dry bones. That's not living at all. Zombie land. He's dropping an angel down in Chicago and seeing Judah with guns, blowing their own brother's heads, brains out. Wow. This is not living. This is not living. And to let you know that the powers that be are no different than Egypt today. $30 million is what they are actually given so that they can open up an institute in those same areas to enable drug use. Talking about, well, the drug dealers, the drug users need clean needles. 30 million going towards crack pipes. $30 million. Tell me they don't think that we're dead already. With all that money and what they can do to actually help a generation of children, their answer is to what? To enable the zombie mentality. Then they try to reel back politically. Oh no, it's not about crack pipes. And then they ask the woman, so what is it? Well, when you look exactly into the legislation there, it's glass stems. It's not officially a crack pipe that you put crack in. But in the legislation, it's glass stems. That's how little they think of us. This is the valley of the dry bones it's speaking about. Now, I know that these facilities are using, let me tell you, they're using this story so that we can look this way when it comes to those buildings. But it's really a Trojan horse. They're putting it out there that these buildings are for this. But really those buildings are going to be used, I'm going to tell you right now, for military. But they need an excuse to have that operation in the midst of the city. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's really for law enforcement. Because what they're going to say is, oh yeah, well, we didn't foresee having a place with all these people doing crack and meth and all that. We didn't foresee all the crime happening here. So now we must use the facility for this. And it's going to become the Trojan horse. And guess what, folks? They set up those facilities right across the street from a what? Junior high school. Strategically. Volley the dry bones. Read on it, Lawya.
Verse 4. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord.
So he told teachers to go out there and step out there and prophesy to them and say, you know what? It's time for us to reassume our true purpose as God's people. Prophesy to them. Let them know the error of their ways and the judgment that comes for their actions. Let them know that if they decide to stay dead after I've warned them, there will be a judgment because no one gets away. Now let's see in Revelations who are those so-called, let's see who those so-called dead bodies are that was in the street for all those years. In the book of Ezekiel. Elder Lawya, let's go straight down and see what are those dry bones.
Yes, sir. Verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
Read that again.
Then said he unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
These bones are the whole house of Israel. Folks, don't y'all know that this is one of the last speeches Malcolm X gave before they killed him? He wasn't talking about Islam, folks. What do you think was going on when he named himself Shabazz and started doing all that? You know who was teaching in New York the same time the Nation of Islam was getting funded? Israelites. So you think he didn't know? One of his greatest speeches before passing was to tell us that we are from the valley of the dry bones, that we are the dry bones in Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Live? Absolutely. I'm looking at it. I would love to see in my people what my God see in my people. And that's the whole deal. That's why it doesn't matter. The forgiveness is there. Even if I'm done wrong. That's why I care. That's why we do this. Because every other nation on the outside of us don't believe. They don't believe, folks. They don't believe that we can achieve above the status they have placed us under. So we have to believe, I have to believe that we're the gift, the Most High gifted this earth. That we're more than what the Gentiles claim we are. And this is why the angel asked Ezekiel, can these bones live? And Ezekiel said, only you know, Lord. Only you know. Only you know. Man, if only each individual can see what the Most High God sees in them. And how much the Most High God and Christ love you and chose you. If you can understand what I'm saying right now in this word, and you can read this Bible and see it in its proper narrative, you are chosen. Understand what this is. Because many were blinded. Even Christ said many were blinded. Christ would speak straight out to the people, and no one, only a few in the crowd, even though he'd have multitudes listening. Only a few in the crowd would walk behind him and say, man, hold up. Did you say this? Is it clear? You must be that. Because even though everyone here, even though their ears are working, their spiritual ears are closed. And it says right here, so if you're listening, and here's another point to this. If you're listening and understand, you are now accountable to what you're hearing. You can't just hear this and go back as one of the dead bodies. See? You can't do it. And those dead bodies are what?
Then said he unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
The whole house of Israel. Read.
Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts.
And our people saying our hope is lost. There's no way we'll be able to get out of this condition. Look at our condition. Read.
Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God.
And the Most High says, speak to them anyway. Go on.
Behold, O my people, I will open your graves.
I will open your graves.
And cause you to come up out of your graves.
And cause you to come out of your graves. Read. And
bring you into the land of Israel.
And bring you into the land of Israel. See? This is not a UN policy. This is not a world war that would happen in the Middle East or across the street or in Europe that would lead to the UN and others coming together and restoring us politically under a Roman imperialistic government. No. This is going to happen, and this is why they're ramping up. This is why they're ramping up their eugenics campaigns in our neighborhoods. Now, since we know we are the gift that the Most High has made in this earth, those who have sighed and cried, a mark have been set upon the righteous, like it speaks of in the book of Ezekiel, 9th chapter. What are we required to do now? Let's go to Romans 12. Let's read it. Romans 12. 1 and 2.
Romans 12 and 1.
Read.
I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice.
That you do what?
Present your bodies a living sacrifice.
Now check out what present your bodies a living sacrifice means. Now that seems like a serious task. And what we overwhelm ourselves by looking at what the disciples done and what Christ did and say, no, that's too much. But what we're seeing is the end of their ministry. We're looking at the end of their work. But before that, steps are taken that leads to greatness. That's us looking within ourselves, examining ourselves, ignoring the good parts, because we know where we're doing right at, and focus on building, listen, the deficient. Too long, or as a people, because no one wants their swords to be shown, we always present what we're proud of. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're going to examine ourselves, we have to, what? Humble ourselves and not look at the good parts. Just look at where we know we're deficient or falling short. And say, you know what? I'm going to start working on that. I already got these things together. I'm not even going to mention these things. I'm good here. No one has to know it. I can write it down with all the things that I know I need to improve within myself. and start working on the deficiencies and saying, you know what? This is not what I just owe myself. This is a price I have to pay, understanding the price that was paid for me. Christ. Understand that. At least I can do is look at my deficiencies and begin to fix those. And yes, it's a sacrifice because of why? You're going to have to give something up to work on that. It's a trade-off. And it says what? Read it again.
Romans 12:1. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice.
A living sacrifice. Now, a lot of people are like, yeah, the good stuff, we should talk about the good stuff and not the deficiencies, right? You have to realize it's talking about dead bodies being resurrected, right? Now, when you go into a hospital, unconscious, right? And they're rushing you in the hospital. What are the areas the doctors are focusing on? The heart is beating fine. They're focusing in on what? They're focusing in on the area that's killing you. You don't have no doctor come into and say, yeah, okay, his heart is good. Okay, his legs moving. Yeah, it's good. Okay, all right. Okay, nothing to see here. But doc, he just got stabbed and he's bleeding out. You got to stitch him up. But his heart is fine. His brain works. He said hello to me. He's waving to me. No, you have to stitch him up. So what they do is they focus on the deficient first. See? And so what we're looking at is Christ and the Most High performing an operation on us, even from baptism. That we now are looking at the areas that need to be stitched up. The areas that we know we are deficient or ashamed of. And saying, you know what? I need to confront this man or this spirit that I'm afraid of. And I'm going to tell you, once you overcome that and fix the imperfections, you're going to find what success is. Success is something that people see at the end of things in dollars. But no, if you talk to anyone that have ever had any level of success, they're going to tell you about the stages where they had nothing at all. How they were able to conquer themselves. How they were able to become obedient and couldn't do what others did. Knowing that there was a higher purpose. It seems like we only see success on the end of it and not the sacrifice side of it. And that's what it means. Your soul delivered. Bring yourself as a sacrifice. There's stages in that. It's looking at your life and saying, you know what? If I'm going to make a mark with this understanding, I'm going to need to start working on my deficiencies so that when the Most High put me forth, I am what? Outright an ambassador for his kingdom. Doesn't matter. If I pick up a mic and sing, if I teach, if I'm around my boys, if I'm around the girls, I'm an ambassador. Everyone is going to know there's something different about you. Become a gift. And that's what Esther's gift was. The greatest gift she could have out of all of this was seeing her people spared. She could have asked for anything. And she asked the Most High. And the Most High put her in position to save her people. But it doesn't happen immediately where God, he's in front of you and now he's made it, he's up, he's spoken and doing all. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the sacrifice part. The part that no one is looking at. That no one can understand the stages that makes one worthy as an ambassador.
Romans 12:1. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice.
Come on.
Holy, acceptable unto God.
Holy and acceptable to God. See? Like, you know what? I'm going to make myself worthy of being called a son of the Most High, or a daughter of the Most High. Dad, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to make you proud, Dad. All this chaos and wickedness and evil going down with your people, understandably so. No, I'm going to become an ambassador. I'm going to represent you because no one's represented. And folks, I'm going to tell you, myself and others, we were doing this when it wasn't a fad to be an Israelite. A lot of people are jumping on it now because what? Kendrick Lamar said, or others said. We went through the rough edges when, guess what? Everybody thought we were crazy. I know y'all are thinking, Elder, they still think we're crazy. Right? Living sacrifice. Last but not least, Elder Lawya, just read Hammond's conspiracy, what the Edomite planned to do against us, and then I'll turn it over. This is what we had to deal with. The people relaxing, chilling, doing our own thing, not bothering nobody, while the government plans to just utterly eradicate and depopulate or destroy us. Oh yeah, did I tell you? Oh yes, this is the great Purim gift. Yes, oh yeah. A Gathering 144 has 100,000 subscribers. Right? Lord, I'm going to have to be very careful concerning what I say. You think I've been biting my tongue? I got scars and everything on my lips biting my everything I wanted to say. Ricardo don't speak like he used to. He bite, man, listen. It's something bigger than just what I want to say. There's a lot of people we must deliver and get to in a short amount of time. And if we keep that side up, now at 100,000, watch this. And we have some plans. All right? I mean, I think, did I already tell y'all about the land we're looking into? Say anything about that? Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, it's going to be good. I guess we'll talk about that when the camera's off. You know what I mean? Because, you know, when they all break down, everybody and their cousin, jabbed up and everything is going to be coming in. I'm like, yeah, with all white with a meaty wrap sideways. I'm like, listen, I think we seen you on an IUIC video. Oh no, Elder, we were GOCC all the way. But I'll talk. You know, so I'll talk about that a little when the camera's off. But let's go into this. Esther, let's go in. Let's go. I just want to go into the conspiracy of this Edomite who had a plan to actually get rid of our people. So, you know, it's sort of like a Biden plan. You know what I mean? 30 million to help the underprivileged with glass stems. You know those black folk. You know, yeah. He has one video where he's talking about, yeah, I learned about roaches. I learned about roaches. I mean, it's good that he can relate to us, right? You know? I'm like, but I'm going to show you his daddy right here, Haman, the Amalekite, Biden's daddy. All right, ready? Let's go.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 1.
Yeah.
After these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed in reverence to Haman. For the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did reverence him.
Nor did Mordecai, our prophet, bow. See? He wasn't a sellout like some of our pastors, preachers, and politicians today. He didn't bow. Read.
Verse 3. Then the king's servants which were with him, or which were in the king's gate, said unto Malachi, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And he thought score to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout all the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. Verse 7. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day. And from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar.
Come on.
And Haman said unto the king Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom.
He's talking about our people. We had ghettos amongst all the provinces, which were who? The Israelites. Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and some of the lost tribes. Read.
And their laws are diverse from all people.
Their laws are different than ours. Right? They don't eat pork. They don't eat shrimp, crabs, lobster. They don't eat the dirt. They don't eat what eats the trash out of the earth. See, and guess what? And y'all don't realize it. When you say that you don't like certain delicacies, you're just saying that you don't like it. You don't tell people because God said it, or even if you say, well, yeah, I'm an Israelite, I don't eat these foods. We see it one way. The Gentiles, or the people who are eating other things, they see it differently. You know what they hear when we say, well, we don't eat pork? You know what they hear? He thinks he's better than us. She thinks she's better than us. That's what they think. Even though we're not stopping them from eating what they want to eat. But automatically, because let me tell you, it's something comes with a people who they're not used to having a standard, holds a standard. It's different. They're not used to us standing on morals or laurels. So it's shocking to them. And the immediate thing they'll ask is, are you Muslim? When Muslims eat camelback, I don't eat camelback, okay? And Muslims, you can eat anything out of the sea, but just because you say you don't eat pork, our people, the world is so deluded and programmed. I'm talking about people who believe in the Bible. Automatically, they revert to you must be a Muslim. Or you think you're better than us. God told us what clean and unclean foods are for. Clean foods means that it's for clean people. Unclean foods are for unclean people. Period. You can't bless and pray over something and make what God said is unclean, clean. Let's read.
In verse 8. And Haman said unto the king Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom.
Come on.
And their laws are diverse from all people.
Their laws are different than our laws. Right? with the Constitution's laws that are in place that does what? That parallels and highlight the laws that are within the Bible. So there are laws in the land that are righteous laws strictly from the Word of God. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. That's why when you do something wrong, you get thrown in jail. I don't have no problem with the constitutional freedoms that protects our right of religion. The right to serve our living God. But what they're not telling you out there is, what? You don't really have a right to believe anything outside of the religions we have given you. See? You have a right of religion, right to religion, but you must choose from one of these. Well, that's not a right at all. Because none of these religions is anything like worshiping the God of Israel and following this Bible in spirit and in truth. So here it is. This guy right here is telling the king and others, these people have different laws than us. Read.
Neither keep they the king's laws.
Neither they keep they the king's laws. So when someone makes a mandate, automatically you're supposed to believe whatever they say and do it. See? And this guy was trying to urge the king to do what? To segregate us, to attack us. Only for worshiping freely like we used to with no issue within the kingdom at all. Read.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries.
Come on.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
The what?
The Jews' enemy.
He was the Israelites' enemy. Amalek. Edomite. If you want to know who his sons are, yeah, the Romans became the children of these people we're talking about. Read.
Verse 11. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also. Do with them as it seemeth good to thee.
So he gave what? Treasury to mercenaries to kill off our people. And this is what happens when you see some of this legislation in our neighborhoods. 30 million for crack pipes and drug paraphernalia to actually help the underprivileged use drugs and not die from it. See, this is how they pay the money. I have a video, folks, that I'm going to show this coming Sunday. Wait till y'all see this video. It's a video of what Trump was talking about doing at the same week that they launched the so-called virus. He was outright saying what he was planning to do. It's going to trip y'all out. Huh?
You get a brief?
Well, here's the brief in a nutshell. This is what he stated, that he's moving towards a national emergency to stop. He stopped cargo ships and all that was in the waters already. And these cargoes was bringing all types of drugs and all that into our neighborhoods. And he had the army to get in place to try to stop them from bringing the drugs over, because it's realized the drugs finances the programs. Okay, you heard of Alabama North and how they were using the crack cocaine money to actually use to fund a war so that they could have money off the books that people couldn't follow, right? So a lot of this drug money is unseen money that's used, that's distributed, that even the government cannot understand what it is, because they're funding a war separate from the the government. It never stopped. Under Adam the North, it never stopped. So what Trump was trying to do, he was trying to get in front of things, knowing that a lot of that money paid special interest to the enemies who would actually run against him. Right? For the president or whatever. He was trying to put people in certain places politically. But in order to do that, he had to cut off the money that was against him, the hidden money that you can't track through government. Drugs. So he stopped those ships from actually bordering in, knowing that the ships was coming. Right? On top of that, he had a sting. The next day, he had a report of a sting for human trafficking. And he was connecting all of that together. And all of a sudden, the world got a cold. Sunday. You got to be there Sunday, son. I got the videos. And I'm like, whoa! I looked at the dates and I'm like, this is crazy. Because if only the world knew what was going on the other side. Because even though we're at the bottom being pressed between the two, there are internal wars politically on either side. They fight against each other too. So I'm going to be going into that this Sunday, son. Oh yeah, but I'll see you tonight anyway. Right? Yeah. All right. So Elder.
Yes, sir.
Let's finish reading the story.
Yes, sir. Verse number 12. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman commanded unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
Come on.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews.
Look at that. A decree financed through government to kill the Israelites. In the Bible. So here it is. Our people march, do all these things here. The highest constituency that keeps the left going. Folks. And our people saying, well, listen, at least help us with schools, better education, less eugenics, allow us to grow without government intrusion, stop the drugs from coming into our neighborhoods, and what are their answer to us? Well, we're trying to help the underprivileged minorities. Listen, that's a trick word. Okay? A minority is also, and I don't have nothing against a person, no matter what race you are, but a white woman is a minority. So they will give you these trick words. Well, yeah, the underprivileged minorities, and you don't need reparations. What you do need is $30 million towards some crack pipes, and we can help you out with that. Same thing here, folks, where they're funding the degradation and destruction of our people. Read.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women in one day.
Little children and women. Well, let's start with the elderly. Okay, now is it safe for us to do those between the ages of 35 and 18? Okay, well, if that's okay, now is it safe for teenagers and those who go to school? Oh yeah, we're going to roll it out and make sure that even the children can get it. See? If you don't know the Bible, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. You don't know a takedown when you see it because you don't know that they've always tried to take down the children of Israel. God's people. Read.
Even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given into every province was published unto all people.
And it was given to what? All the areas that our people resided amongst. Like certain areas, like today. Let me tell you, we go into different parts of Pennsylvania, it seems like they're having a party where there was never any mandates at all. But go into Philadelphia. Go into the cities of New York. Go into Harlem. Go into North Philadelphia. Go into Chicago. And you know what you will find out? You will find out that these were the targeted areas from the beginning. And you can only realize that if you read what we're reading right here. Okay, did y'all know that part of the finance Dovic 91 spelled backward finances included the 30 million? That's really an initiative off the back of the virus? That in the legislation, to help us through the virus, that 30 million would go towards crack paraphernalia so that they don't share the virus one amongst each other, crack pipes. Like, listen, we have to stop the spread of the disease, and we're going to do that.
Let me show you how we're going to do it. Yeah, give me 2 batteries. Yes, sir. I'm going to show you. No, right there, right next to each other.
We're going to undo we're going to make sure everyone is safe. So listen, all these shared crack pipes, no. There's one for you and one for me. And we're going to we're going to do this thing right, 6 feet apart, safe, brand new, no black smoke on mine. What about yours? And folks, this is what they're doing, this is what they're saying, is to make us safe under the Dovic 91 virus so that people can smoke crack safely. Now, hold on. Is that wild? Is that not an insult? They can only sell this to us, folks. It's an insult. But if you don't know about Purim, you don't realize they've always done stuff like this. They will claim they have no money to help us and help our circumstances, but they can always find money to hurt us. Same thing back here. We're under a rendition. Where we are has been targeted from the beginning of this campaign. Read on.
Verse 15. The post went out, being hasted by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace, and the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed.
The city was perplexed. What, we just going to kill these people who did nothing to us? Mordecai just refused to serve you and bow to you and bow to your God, and you're going to kill his family? Kill all the people? There's nothing new under the sun, folks. And I'm going to spell the word for you again. EUGENICS. Every man and woman and child need to look up eugenics. Eugenics. Bill Gates' father was a high eugenicist. High eugenicist. Talking about going into Africa and third world countries to the underprivileged and giving them medicines and all that. Listen, why don't we go into what made these people sick? The same foundation that go into with the answer are behind the sicknesses. Right? And then we have what? Out of that came Margaret Sanger, who came up with Planned Parenthood. Doesn't that sound nice? So that we can plan families together. But strategically put Planned Parenthood in the areas where our people reside. It's all strategic. Last but not least, last scripture. Let's go to Esther when she told the king exactly what she wanted. Haman conspired to kill us all politically. Folks, and like I said, this is not just the Bible. This history is written till this day at the same time period in Iran. In Iran, under their records, this particular instance happened. And you know what? I never really thought that Esau or the Agagites and Amalek forgave them for this, Iran. So it's no coincidence that it will be the Iranian war that changes everything in the earth altogether. They were the one country that said, no, we're not going to kill them. We're not going to do it. See, we forgot our history. They didn't forget our history. And let me make it clear. I'm not for Iran either. I'm for the children of God. Let's make that clear. Okay? But on the political landscape, Iran was supposed to, under the Persian Empire, get rid of all of our people in the province. And it was a sister that stepped in, married the king, and did what? Decreed that he go out. He says, I'll give you anything for the gift, a wedding gift. And she says, you know what? This is what I want. I want that guy and all of his people out of here. Out of here where? In the spirit world. That's where. Okay? I want them to adorn that light. What light? Don't worry about it. They'll see it. We need their heads. Okay? This is what's going down here. So this sister, and listen, she came with it. And you know, she was like, listen, this is what you want to be down with me? This is what it's going to take. All right? Save my people. Get rid of these losers here. Let's read it.
The book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 1.
Come on.
So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee.
What is your petition?
And what is thy request? And which shall be performed? And it shall be performed even to the half of the kingdom.
Okay.
Verse 3, then Esther the queen answered and said, I have found favor in thy sight, O king. And if it please thee, let my life be given thee at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed.
She says they're planning to kill our people. Help my people. An unselfish request. Read.
For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish.
Come on.
But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
Come on.
Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he, and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so?
Come on.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
Is this wicked Haman, the Edomite. Read.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And
Can you imagine that? Haman sitting at the table at meat at a festival. And he's sitting there laughing, knowing what the decree is. And she's right there saying, yeah, that wicked man right there, I want him and his people done. And you know what? That's something else. Because I don't know, what was that series with Littlefinger? Game of Thrones. That's where they got it from. When they was just talking at the table, and eventually it was Littlefinger that they was going to destroy. They got it from this story right here. He's at the festival, don't even know that she's working to actually get rid of him. You know, Littlefinger, yeah, he definitely got the spirit of Amalek, if you ever seen the Game of Thrones. He's always lurking and conspiring and instigating and putting things together, only to see his plans unfold. And guess what? Usually when it happens, he's in another country somewhere where total chaos has totally came into fruition. And that's, he'll show up 10 or 15 episodes. Sometimes I just see that and like, man, that's the spirit of Amalek. That's the spirit of Amalek. You know they use our stories on all these things. Come on, read it.
Verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
Is this wicked Haman? Come on.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
Come on.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was.
Come on.
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
Is he going to kill me? Read.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king,
come on,
standeth in the house of Haman. Then said the king, hang him thereon.
Hang him on the gallows. The same hanging that was prepared for Mordecai, the prophets. Hang him and his sons. Read it.
Verse 10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
Then was the king's wrath pacified. So because of that, this night is possible. Go straight to where the Most High told us to make this is a memorial. Now, a lot of people ask, well, is it the same as a Sabbath? No, it isn't a Sabbath, but it's a memorial. It's a day of celebration that we do. And for 2 days, if we would like, it's the giving of gifts. This is the day in which the giving of gifts originally came from. Not December 25th, Christmas. Because still, they haven't told any of us, why do we give gifts on December 25th? You can't say because it's Christ's birthday, because Christ wasn't born in December. Right? Nimrod, or the incarnate Talmud, or Mithras. The virgin child Mithras, Talmuz. Nimrod incarnate was born December 25th. And they turned the worship of a Babylonian man, the virgin son of Semiramis, into the new Christian story for Mary and Christ. The whole thing was a lie. This is supposed to be the real day of gift giving. Purim. See? Read.
Esther 9 and 15. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day of the month Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hand.
Come on.
But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together, and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew up their foes, 70 and 5,000.
Come
but
on.
they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 30th day, or the 13th day of the month Adar, on the 14th day, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day, and on the 15th day of the same, they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
Come on.
Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and a sending of portions one to another.
And sending of portions one to another. Gift giving. This is the origin of gift giving. See, but they don't want our people to celebrate gift giving according to this, because this is a political story that can relate to what our people are experiencing right now. Just imagine that. Every Purim, our families get together and celebrate this story when the Edomites was using a census to count us and paying mercenaries to get rid of us. And we celebrate each year and tell our children about this story. And we give gifts and let them know we're not just giving you gifts because we love you and you are our child and we want to make sure you getting something when the other people are getting something. These useless reasons we do it here. You're giving tradition, value, history to a people. And you're giving them the insight to how the world powers view them. So now they grow up understanding this history and know that when certain things are being funded against them, they can warn people and say, you know what? This legislation they're pushing isn't for us. This legislation is no different than the silver that was given from Haman to mercenaries to destroy us. Unless you put the money right in our hands and let us use it for what we want to use it for, it's against us. So that's why, brothers and sisters, they don't want us to celebrate Purim. Because Purim comes with history. And on top of the history, it comes with what? There's a story showing our sister in honor. Mordecai the prophet, our brother, not bowing to the evil, in honor. See? They don't want us to celebrate that because why? With this information and how we're teaching today, we can now reconstruct our image back into the image of God. With that, I'm going to say shalom. May the Most High be with you. Happy Purim.